Welcome everyone to my Chasca build guide. Chasca is the newest upcoming 5-star and one who has a rather unique kit. In this build guide, I will briefly go over Chasca's kit, give some context on how to build her, then go over her artifact options, main and substats, and lastly weapons. Keep in mind that information regarding Chasca is not official yet, and there may be changes by the time she's out. Information in this build guide is only up to date as of the making of this video. And without further ado, let's get into her kit. Chasca is a 5-star anemo damage dealer. She scales on attack, wields a bow, and has a crit rate ascension bonus. Her normal attacks are nothing special, and like other bow units, a fully charged aimed shot deals anemo damage. Chasca's elemental skill is where the major part of her damage comes from. Using her elemental skill, Chasca deals Night Soul aligned anemo damage and enters her Night Soul's Blessing, starting with 80 points. Like other Natlan characters, Chasca has additional exploration abilities during her Night Soul's Blessing. While in her Night Soul's Blessing, Chasca can use her normal attack to deal Night Soul aligned anemo damage, counting as normal attack damage. Holding her normal attack will allow her to enter aiming mode. During this aiming mode, Chasca will load 6 bullets that can target multiple different enemies or one single enemy. After loading these bullets, Chasca will fire off the bullets at selected targets. This damage counts as charged attack damage. When Chasca loads her bullets, they all start with anemo and deal Night Soul aligned anemo damage by default. However, when your party contains characters of either pyro, electro, cryo, or hydro elements, which are the elements anemo reacts with, 3 of Chasca's 6 bullets can absorb one element corresponding to each party member. In that case, each of Chasca's bullets that have absorbed a different element will deal Night Soul aligned damage corresponding to its elemental type. The bullets with an absorbed element will deal more damage than regular anemo bullets, and also apply its respective element, allowing Chasca to trigger multiple different reactions. If you have Dendro, Geo, or Anemo units, the bullets will remain Anemo. Chasca's Night Soul's Blessing will last until her Night Soul points run out, during which she can use her charged attack 4 times. This skill has a cooldown of 6.5 seconds, and a maximum Night Soul points limit of 80. Chasca's burst also has similar mechanics. Casting her burst, Chasca fires off a single instance of Night Soul aligned AoE anemo damage. After that, Chasca fires off 6 shells attacking nearby opponents. These shells start off dealing Night Soul aligned anemo damage, but for each pyro, electro, cryo, or hydro party member, 2 shells will absorb a corresponding element. This burst has an energy cost of 60 and a cooldown of 15 seconds. Moving on to your passives, Chasca's first passive will allow a 4th bullet to absorb either pyro, electro, cryo, or hydro. Depending on the number of different elements in your party, which can only be pyro, electro, cryo, or hydro, there is a chance of converting a 4th bullet into any of the elements in your party. If you have 1 different element type in your party, the chance is 33%. With 2 different types, the chance becomes 67%. And with 3, you always get the 4th bullet. Additionally, for each type of element in your party, Chasca gains 1 stack of Spirit of the Radiant Shadow, increasing the damage of the converted bullets. Up to 3 stacks can be gained. And lastly, for Chasca's second passive, when a party member triggers a Night Soul burst, Chasca will deal Night Soul aligned anemo damage to a nearby opponent. This damage counts as charged attack damage. If your party has pyro, electro, cryo, or hydro characters, the damage will be converted to either element in your party, with all elements having an equal chance and dealing increased damage. With that out of the way though, Chasca's elemental absorption is rather unique. While absorbing different elements that react with anemo is nothing new to anemo units, absorbing multiple elements and dealing different types of elemental damage is rather unique. This allows Chasca to be played in many different teams and trigger different reactions, where she can vaporize by having Pyro and Hydro party members, freeze by having Cryo and Hydro party members, or even trigger Electrocharged by having Electro and Hydro party members. Many teams are possible with Chasca, as long as you pair her with other Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro party members to allow her bullets to absorb one of these elements. You can run a team focused on a specific reaction like Vaporize by having party members of either Pyro or Hydro, or run a team with 3 different elements. Running a team focused on a reaction like Vaporize with 2 Pyro characters would allow Chasca to focus more on Pyro damage, where she can run a Pyro damage goblet. In such a team though, you won't always guarantee getting a 4th bullet with an absorbed element. A team with 3 different elements would allow Chasca to always get 4 bullets with different elements and trigger multiple reactions all at once. And since Chasca is triggering multiple reactions and dealing damage of different elemental types, this introduces the question of what her build would look like, as Chasca is not primarily dealing most of her damage through a Nemo. For the purposes of this build guide, I would compare her different builds in a team with 3 characters of either Pyro, Electro, Cryo, or Hydro. This team consists of the usual suspects like Furina for her damage buff, Bennett for the attack buff and healing, and lastly the upcoming Electro unit Ororon, wielding the Hero of Cinder City set. This team allows Chasca to always get a 4th bullet of a different element and trigger multiple reactions. When it comes to Chasca's talent priority, you would first want to level up her elemental skill, as that is where most of her damage comes from. Then you can level up her elemental burst, as it also contributes to damage. Finally, normal attacks are not necessary to level. With Chasca being from Natlan, she can enter a Night Soul's Blessing, which immediately makes the Obsidian Codex a strong option. Obsidian Codex increases damage dealt by 15% during the Night Soul's Blessing, and after 1 Night Soul point has been consumed, crit rate will be increased by 40% for 6 seconds. This is Chasca's best in slot, but keep in mind that Chasca has a crit rate ascension, and with this set, she would be starting with 64.2% crit rate. Marechaussee Hunter is also a decent option to use if you have Furina in your team. Shimenawa's Reminiscence provides an attack bonus, and if you have more than 15 energy, using your elemental skill will consume 15 energy and increase normal, charged, and plunging attack damage by 50%. Chasca's burst deals a sizable amount of damage, and while using this set does not stop Chasca from using her burst, it may become a bit more inconsistent, which does make a difference. Wanderer's Troop provides elemental mastery and increases charged attack damage, which increases Chasca's bullet damage. Desert Pavilion Chronicles a Nemo damage bonus and normal attack speed increase are not that useful on Chasca, but she can make use of the 40% increased normal, charged, and plunging attack damage. Viridescent Venerer does not work that well when it comes to dealing damage. Other than that, you could use a 2-piece mix like attack and attack as a temporary option. Before going over main stats, let's firstly go over Chasca's energy recharge requirements. Chasca deals a lot of damage through her burst, and using her burst every rotation would give you the most damage. However, this is not always necessary, since she already deals a lot of damage. Investing enough into energy recharge to burst every rotation should be better than bursting every other rotation, although again, it's not necessary if you're already dealing a lot of damage. To burst every rotation, Chasca would need around 140 to 160% energy recharge. You can definitely go on the lower end by having other party members use Favonius weapons, or using Ororon, who can help with energy through his second passive. As for main stats, for your Sands, you would want to go for attack. Going for energy recharge can be viable on paper if you don't have any energy recharge on your substats. However, even though it may appear viable, I don't recommend going for energy recharge on your Sands. as you can compensate for a lack of energy recharge through your party members, and oftentimes an energy recharge sans will give you much more energy than you need. For your goblet, attack is usually the best option since Chasca deals damage of multiple elemental types, and going for attack is a decent middle ground. Going for a Nemo damage on your goblet would result in less damage, as Chasca is not always dealing a Nemo damage. If you're playing in a team with 2 characters of a specific element, you can go for a goblet of the same element, such as in a vaporized team with 2 pyro characters. However, I still recommend attack, as an attack goblet would be slightly better and more consistent in different situations. Going for elemental mastery on either your sans or goblet is viable since Chasca can trigger multiple elemental reactions at once. However, elemental mastery is not better than attack on Chasca, since she wouldn't always be triggering reactions due to elemental application cooldowns. And lastly, for your circlet, you can go for crit rate or crit damage. Keep in mind that Chasca already starts with 64.2% crit rate if you're using the Obsidian Codex set. As for substats, you would want energy recharge until your target is met, crit rate and crit damage, attack, and then elemental mastery. When it comes to Chasca's weapons, there are a lot of options, both 5 stars and 4 stars. Before going over her weapons though, Chasca's bullets from her Night Soul's Blessing count as charged attack damage, however they don't count as arrows, as her bullets directly hit enemies. So, effects from Amos's bow and the slingshot don't quite work. Additionally, since Chasca already starts with 66.2% crit rate with the Obsidian Codex set, some crit rate can make you overcap. Chasca's signature weapon, Astral Vulture's Crimson Plumage, is easily her best in slot by a large margin. This weapon has a base attack of 608 and increases crit damage by 66.2%. As for its effect, after triggering a swirl reaction, attack will be increased by 24%, and when 1 or 2 party members are of a different element from the wielder, charged attack damage will be increased by 24% or 48%. And burst damage will be increased by 10% or 24%. This is overall Chasca's best option, and while it is very strong on her, it's not necessary to get, as even with other free options, Chasca would still deal a lot of damage. Aqua Simulacra is a decent option, as it increases crit damage and damage dealt. The First Great Magic is a decent option to use due to its strong stats, as it increases crit damage and charged attack damage, although the rest of its passive doesn't work well with Chasca. Song of Stillness is a craftable weapon and a decent option, her best freely obtainable one. However, it does require Chasca to be played with a healer like Bennett to activate the weapon's effect. The same also goes for the 4-star range gauge. Both Skyward Harp and Amos are decent options to use due to the strong stats both weapons provide. Although, do keep in mind that Amos's bow's effect does not fully work. The upcoming 4-star weapon, Flower Wreathed Feathers, is a decent 4-star option, and at refinement rank 1 it's not that far off from R5 Song of Stillness. Chainbreaker works well with Chasca, but it's still behind the other craftable 4-star, Song of Stillness. Generally, if Chasca is already running attack on her Sans and Goblet, attack increasing weapons may not perform as well compared to other weapons. Overall, there are many options to use on Chasca, and even though her signature weapon is quite a bit ahead, Chasca will still perform well enough with 4-star alternatives. And that's all for this guide. Thank you for making it till the end, and thank you for watching.